Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is the Marc McMain Show on WMOQ 92.3. I'm Mitchell Swan, and again, sitting in for Marc while he's out there running for office. And I've got a great show today. I've got Ava Raby in here with her father, Jake Raby. They're going to tell us about the mechanical classroom. But before I get there, now we were talking, Chastity, and again, you look lovely again today.
Thank you, Mitch.
Yeah.
Wonderful to have you here in the studio, and your friends. Welcome.
Now, I understand you've got a special someone in your life, just had a third birthday.
Today is
Ryder Martin.
Yes, today is Ryder's birthday, so happy third birthday, Ryder. We love you.
Yes, Ryder. Go, buddy.
He's such a cool kid.
And I saw pictures. I think you shared a video of him on his excavator.
Yes.
Like he was born to do that.
Yes. He is just a little naturalist. So smart and so much fun. So
that's what get him right out of high school.
Yes.
He can go work with our friend Andrew Clegg and just start getting to work.
There you
go.
I love it.
That.
Thank you so much. Happy
Wonderful.
birthday, Ryder.
Happy birthday, buddy. So, Jake, good morning. Welcome to the studio. Great to have you here.
Good morning. Great to be here.
And we've got Ava. Hi, Ava.
Hi.
Now, are you on break right now, or are you supposed to be in school?
Everyone else is on a trip at my school, so I'm just here.
So you are playing hooky?
Kind of.
With a doctor's note, because she's still on crutches.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah, you got a bum wheel, but that's all right. We'll get on that. But the both of you have come in together, and I wanted to have you both in here because you've been working with your father, and you've started something called the Mechanical Classroom. Can you tell everybody out there about the Mechanical Classroom? Well, before we get there, why don't you tell us briefly what it is, but then I want to hear more about your background and how you guys arrived at this. So what is a mechanical background? About Mechanical Classroom.
So it's really working with mechanical things, being inventive, developing, all that's in our DNA. Both my grandfathers were all about that sort of thing.
Yeah.
One of my grandfathers built a power plant that's still in operation down at the Koreshan Historic Site in Fort Myers, Florida. Big, long story about how he got there. But that power plant was built in 1906, and it provided power to the first community in the world with full electric power to all buildings, dwellings, and that sort of thing. So it was for lack of a better term, it was a cult. And they were their own, living on a sterile island, and they had their own everything. They had their own laundry, they had their own power, and the city of Fort Myers actually ended up buying power from them because they had a better power plant than the city did. So he built that. He invented the Raby oscillating gasoline engine, which was an engine in 1912 that could actually turn 30,000 RPM, which is pretty crazy. And then he got into communications and built a wireless potentiophone, which could send 100 telegraphic messages at one time in 1909.
Oh my gosh.
So it's mechanical stuff, electrical stuff. It's in our DNA.
So was he a mentor for you?
No, because he passed away 25 years before I was born, and a lot of reasons behind that.
Did
because
your dad pick it up then?
Well, no, my dad was a banker. It skipped him completely. It's kind of funny because one of the first things I remember doing, we had a 1973 Volkswagen thing, and my dad had a bad knee, and I was 5 years old, and I had to get under this car and change the oil because my dad couldn't do it. That's probably the very first thing that I ever did, but that's what started this huge thing with old Volkswagens, which led into old Porsches, and now that's what I do. So that's kind of the background there. My mom passed away when I was 13, so my dad wanted me to have a place to work on stuff because I had this strong mechanical aptitude. And we had an old chicken house, which I still have. Doesn't look like a chicken house now. But there was just a dirt floor, and I had an old broken freezer, and I worked on top of engines on top of this old broken freezer. And I actually still have pictures of that. I don't know why I took a picture of it, but I did. I still got one. And from there, I bought a bunch of old junk Volkswagens, and by the time I was 18, I had 80 cars. I had my own junkyard.
Now, I heard, and I can't remember which Marine told me this, but when your father was in the service, I heard that he used to keep engines out in the parking lot when he wasn't working on aircraft, he'd be out there working on his Porsche motors. Have you heard that?
Yes.
Yeah, I did a lot of. I mean, I never stopped. I built 300 engines in my barracks room.
All right, so you're a motorhead right to your DNA is what, what you're getting across.
And
All
then,
right.
you know, and of course I was doing that before I went in the Marine Corps, and then I graduate, and then that night I leave to go straight to Parris Island, and that's where the discipline came in. My dad was very just iron-fisted with a lot of things, and he taught me a lot of discipline. So in a lot of ways, Parris Island wasn't as tough for me as most other people because I kind of lived Parris Island before I went there from the mental aspect. But it brought everything together. And working on CH-46 aircraft, everything was old and worn out. It was like working on an old Volkswagen. A lot of times you're swapping parts from one aircraft to another to get it up and flying. We called it cannibalization. You know, you cannibalize one aircraft to make another fly. So I was all good with that because I'd been doing that all my life.
Sure.
So, but that's really kind of what led into it. And then
Now, where'd you grow up? You were from around here?
in White County, up in Cleveland.
Okay.
So that's where all my
How
roots
did you meet
are.
your lovely wife, Beth? She's from here, right? Isn't she?
Yeah, that's it's a bit of a long story. We kind of knew some of the same people, and she's in the accounting world, so
Yes, she
you know,
is.
without her, I wouldn't be able to do what I do.
Right.
Because I don't care about that side. I'm a developer. I'm a creator, and she's the numbers person. So together we make a pretty good team, kind of like you and your wife.
Sure. But I don't think I'd ever ask my wife to work on an engine. I don't think is yours mechanically like you, or did you give all that information to Ava?
Well, no, she grew up around, you know, she had two brothers, and her dad used to race dirt track stuff and that sort of thing, so she grew up around cars, and she's helped me build a couple of engines. It's been 20 years ago now. But the interesting thing is that she set 4 land speed records in a Porsche 911, and they still stand.
Beth did.
Yes.
Seriously.
Yep.
All right, tell me what that land record is. I want to know what it is.
I think the highest one was like 152, but it was a standing mile up in Maxton, North Carolina. So a lot of that's done in Bonneville out in the Salt Flats, where
Yeah.
you've got a 3-mile course, an 8-mile course. But this was like a 1-mile drag race. So 152 and what was a fairly stock car is pretty respectable in a standing mile.
Yes, it is. Did you work on that car?
Yeah, it had a lot of
Nice.
work done to it. But now I'll sit back and look. I mean, that was 2008, 2009, and I look at it. I said, look what we didn't know back then compared to all the
Right.
things that I've developed now, and look at how much better we could do it now if we tried to do that again. So
Now, I'm going to make the assumption that you are self-trained, right? On the job, kind of breaking things apart, understanding how they work. I mean, I don't see you going to a tech school in your life to learn that, other than what the Marine Corps did for you.
yeah, and the Marine Corps brought that discipline into it. You know, before the Marine Corps, my shop was a disaster. After the Marine Corps, everything's squared away. It's perfect. It drives me crazy if it's not. It's like that 180. But I'm very much so an autodidact. You know what that is, Mitch?
No?
That means you pretty much have to teach yourself.
Okay.
And so I can't sit down and read
is that an acronym for something?
just a term. You can look
Okay.
it up. Yeah, Google it. But it's in a lot of ways I'm unteachable about certain things. Like unless I do it myself, then I don't really want to learn it.
Well, that's why officers in the Marine Corps can't work on aircraft, because when we get done, we're missing a tool. I got 4 extra bolts. I'm like, I guess I was very efficient. Let it go.
Well, it was always great when we did pre-flights behind our pilots, you know, because I'm like, you left this clamshell loose. Oh, that's okay. but yeah, it's in that when I was in school kind of gave up on me a lot of ways because one, they knew I didn't want to be there, right? And it was in White County. Appalachia was still very much so a thing back when I was a kid.
He's
It's not
untrainable.
That,
We're just gonna give up on him.
Yeah, it's like a lost cause. But I memorized everything, so they would give me 30 vocabulary words, and I'd be like, "Just give me the test now." So they're like, something's not adding up about this, right?
Yeah.
So they threw me in special ed classes because they didn't know what to do with me, but that was the best thing ever because then they could get away with putting me in like 5 or 6 shop classes a day. And that's where the mechanical classroom starts to come in here.
Now, your high school still had those.
Absolutely. Very much so.
Yeah, even my high school, we had metal shop, an auto shop, and a wood shop. And if you didn't want that, there was mechanical drawing. I don't know that they even have those in schools.
No.
It's been so long since I've seen one.
And that's where the mechanical classroom is bridging a gap. So basically, when we were kids, we had a whole vocational building. It was another whole building that was not connected to the
Right.
school. When I was there, I learned machining. I went and bought an old milling machine, which I still have and use today. It was used to build B-24s in World War II, and I've got it sitting in my machine shop with all my modern CNC machines, which I also pretty much taught myself how to program and run because I can't be taught any other way. But ultimately, having that in that class, having that in the school, I use that every day. Just yesterday I was working on something, and I remembered 7th or 8th grade when I was taught how to do that the first time.
Well, I've watched Ava grow up a little bit, and it seems like you're fascinated by this kind of stuff. Was that a fair statement?
Yes, sir.
What's one of your earliest memories working on something with your dad?
I think I was probably 4. They got me like a plastic engine to build, and he sat in the living room with me and did it. So that's probably like the earliest memory I have.
Yeah, mine was an erector set as a kid. That should come with a box of Band-Aids, I swear.
Well, and she will sit there we would buy kits that were electrical circuits, or we would buy this or that, and that really kind of led the mechanical classroom because I'm like, I could just buy an engine for what these little kits are costing, and she can take it apart and put it back together again, which is what ended up happening. But, ultimately, the electrical thing, she kind of got that from my grandfather because he was big time electrical. I'm not as electrical as she is because she can put those electrical circuits together very quickly.
She's nodding her head, yes, I can.
Yeah. And she goes through stages with it. Sometimes she really wants to do it, other times she don't. But it was kind of funny because when we first started the mechanical classroom, the way that whole thing really kicked off was the family had a go-kart. And all her cousins had worn this go-kart out. Like, I don't think the oil had ever been changed. The frame was broken. And by the time she gets it, she's the youngest one, then it's just shot. So, and so that's when I ended up, giving her a engine for Christmas that was a brand new one. And I said, okay, you can have this for the go-kart under one condition. You got to take it apart and put it back together again. But at that point, the mechanical classroom didn't exist. That came later.
Well, I'll tell you, back in the 70s, you never threw a lawnmower away with the engine on it. Someone was taking that thing, and to your point, that was going on a go-kart. Or a bike. I've seen that happen, too, like before mopeds. You're moving.
Well, and, I had an agriculture class. I mean, I was in shop classes all day, every day. And I remember taking a flywheel into my last period of the day that I had just machined, and one of the girls was like, get that thing out of here, it stinks and you stink. Well, I've been in a machine shop all day, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I've still got the flywheel that I made when I was a junior in high school. So a lot of those skills, they never left me. The stuff I do today, I learned in middle and high school.
Well, I think when we come back from break, we're going to really dive into what the mechanical classroom is, because you're not just giving kids skills. I would make the argument that most men don't try to repair things, not because they're not interested in learning how to do it. They don't have the confidence they could, and sometimes it's just, hey, pop that hood and get under there and just grab a manual, but start having the confidence to do the work. And you're building those in our young adults while they're still in high school. So when we come back, we're going to dive into the mechanical classroom with Ava and Jake. And again, you're listening to the Marc McMain Show on 92.3 FM.
Recently, I was on a flight writing on a legal pad, and the man next to me struck up a conversation. "Are you an author?" he asked. I said, "No, I'm actually a preacher." Well, the look on his face was priceless. How would you feel if you're stuck sitting next to a preacher for several hours? Surprisingly, though, we had a good conversation. He asked me several questions about Jesus, and I told him that the Bible says if Jesus didn't rise from the dead, Christianity is worthless. Ever thought about that? You see, the truthfulness of Christianity hinges on whether Jesus died and rose from the grave. There's great evidence for it. And I'm one of the billions of Christians around the globe who believes that the resurrection really happened. If Jesus did conquer death, then he's worthy of your trust. If he didn't, reject him because he's a fraud. I believe he really conquered death. What do you believe? This is Brian Wright, speaking right from my heart.
For devotions, visit rightfromtheheart.org.
I'm Marc McMain, Republican for State Senate, and I approve this message.
Hi, this is former Congressman Jody Heiss. I know what it's like to stand up to the radical left, and I trust Marc McMain to do the same thing in the state Senate. I've watched Marc lead when he served as GOP chairman. He didn't just sit on the sidelines. He helped Republicans, including President Trump, win Georgia. So join me in keeping the main thing the McMain thing. Vote for Marc McMain on May 19th. Paid for by Mark for Georgia Incorporated.
As spring blooms, so does engagement season. At P&A Jewelers, voted the area's best jeweler and jewelry store, and celebrating 50 years, we offer a beautiful selection of engagement rings. Let us custom create exactly what your heart desires. Visit us in person next to Quick Trip in Loganville or online at shoppajewelers.com. P&A Jewelers, where your forever begins.
Well, welcome back to the Marc McMain Show. I'm Mitchell Swan, sitting in for Mark today. And we're sitting here with Jake Graby and his daughter Ava talking about the mechanical classroom. And for those long-term listeners, if you recall, we had Seth Hathaway in here, who was the headmaster for Prince Avenue Christian Academy. And I was asking about education and why don't kids get hands-on stuff? And he said, oh, we got this thing called the mechanical classroom, which is what brought both of these fine people into the studio today. So now we're going to spend the bottom half of our interview just talking what it is, how it got developed, and hear some stories about the kids that have been through your program.
Yeah, so it started with that engine that we talked about where, bought a new in-the-box, nice, clean engine and took it apart for absolutely no reason, which in my world I do that a lot.
Now, when you say engine, some people don't know what they're visualizing here. Are we talking about 2-stroke, 4-stroke, little,
So this was a 4-stroke, 212cc, 6.5 horsepower go-kart motor, basically.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
and being an engine builder, it always kind of drives us crazy when people call them motors, because motors are electric and engines are internal combustion. So, it's just one of those things that kind of, it's in my DNA to call them an engine. Some people call them motors. It's powering a car or a go-kart, so either way's okay.
Well, for your neighbors that have ever been by your house or up to your shop in Cleveland, I think it's fair for me to say, tell us what kind of motor, what kind of engine, because, my gosh, you have a collection of a lot of engines out there.
Yeah, we have everything from old 2-strokes, from Honda dirt bikes and Honda Odysseys and Pilots. Before those were cars, they were, utility vehicles. They were sports vehicles. We got those. We got a lot of old diesel stuff. Got military vehicles. Some have tracks. So.
All right. So now Ava's received this gift from you, and she's got her new engine. And does it come completely disassembled, and then you assemble it, or did you take it all apart? Take a perfectly good motor and turn it into not a motor anymore?
Yeah. So it came perfectly all together, and then he was like, we're going to take this apart and put it back together, and then you can have it and put it on your go-kart.
Wonderful.
And so she did that one time, and we were shooting video of it, which I still have.
And how old was she at this time?
I was 6 years old.
You were 6?
Yes.
Well, nothing says, hey, Ryder out there is like, hey, you know what I want for my 6th birthday? I want an engine. All right, so you're 6 years old, your dad's passing you tools, and you're just going to make you field strip this thing into a bunch of parts.
Well, and the thing is also, I wanted her to learn the tools and how to use them, because it wasn't about an engine. It was about learning how to take something apart, create your own resource material, and put it back together, right? So, and because that's how I learned everything.
Yeah.
As an autodidact, that's what you have to do. So, that's really what it was about. And the mechanical classroom is the same way. It's not training kids how to be mechanics. It's training kids how to understand how things work. And no matter if they change a light bulb at home or change an outlet or change oil in a car, they're paying attention as they're doing that, and they're taking out their phone and taking pictures, creating resource materials so they can put it back together. We did the same thing on helicopters a lot of times. A lot of the stuff that we did was not, it wasn't conventional, especially in the field or on the boat, as we like to say.
As I pointed out, I'm often missing a tool and have 4 extra bolts. And I'm like, hey, victory.
As long as it works. But, in my world, there's no rules with anything because I start from scratch, or I take something like Porsche engines that have a major problem, and we invent and patent fixes for it, and then we make it better. So
you do this project with Ava, and when did you decide, hey, this might be something that people would like to have for their own kids, or something that if we offered it up, people would come to actually do this?
I think it was one night after me and my dad had been building it, I was like sitting in the bathtub, and he came in there and he was like, I have an idea. He's like, do you want to teach other kids how to do this?
Because you're 7,
So she was.
No, I was joking. How old were you at that point? Still like 6?
I think I was still 6.
Still 6. Yeah, I think I want to do that.
So she got really interested in it, and any 6-year-old gets really interested in something, and then they get really disinterested in it just as quickly, and they go through stages with that. But with this, she stayed with it again. So we took that engine back apart for no reason other than to document all the tools that we needed. So we left all the tools in another room, and we said, okay, as we bring tools into this room that we need, we're going to leave them in this room. So Ava wrote down on a sheet of paper what every tool was, and we left them all there. And when we were done putting the engine back together, we had created a tool list and a supply list of, oils and sealants and that sort of thing, also safety equipment, safety glasses, gloves, all that. So when we were done, it was just a matter of kind of, compiling all that together, and then we had to create resource material. Mm-hmm. So we had to shoot very extensive videos about this. I've been doing instructional videos since 1999, so I kind of had a knack for what needed to be done. And I've been doing Porsche engine classes with people from all over the world attending them since 2007. So while I had never taught a student that was, a kid, I'd had people from all over the world, a lot of times would come here and didn't even speak English, which is a very interesting interaction when you're in a classroom like that, trying to build a Porsche engine with somebody that doesn't speak your language. But I knew what we needed to do. So we shot the videos and did a lot of it, and then I was talking to Colonel Hathaway at Prince Avenue one day, and all of a sudden I said, hey, look at what Ava and I did. And I said, we think that, considering the fact that so many things have been taken out of schools, there are no vocational buildings anymore. The state legislature, all these people get together and they say, this is not important. We want kids going to get college preparatory classes. We want them to have this certain regimen, whether it helps them or not.
Sure.
And so that's where everything went. So all those vocational buildings are gone, and it's very expensive to try to rebuild that. So what we were able to create with a mechanical classroom is we can literally, and we have literally, rolled 8 learning stations that we created from scratch. We made a lot of the special tools to make it easier for kids to do this. We created the video resource materials. We came up with special tools, modified things, and we can roll these learning centers into a classroom that was previously a science room or a math room, or even one period before or after our class. It can still be one of those classrooms. And it transforms that regular classroom into a mechanical classroom in 15 minutes.
So how long so this is going on now at Prince Avenue. How long is the course if someone signs up for it?
So it's part of this year, and for the past 2 years, it's been part of the life skills class. So they teach the kids how to do life skills, other things, not just engines. Next year and beyond, it's going to be part of a new class, it's an engineering class that will also be assisting with a lot of things we do engineering-wise, making parts from scratch, modeling things,
What are some of the other life courses over there that are offered under that? Is there like financial?
I think there's hand stitching and knitting. I think maybe cooking.
Oh yeah, got to have some more cooking, man. People got to get rid of all those microwaves and prepackaged foods.
It's a pretty good mix of, some of the stuff that would have been home ec back in our day, right?
Well, right. I mean, I took a class back in like junior high, just how to balance a checkbook. I mean, basic stuff like that. People are like, meh, my phone will cover it.
Yeah, I mean, but that's probably the novel concept behind the mechanical classroom is that we can transform that regular classroom or a corner of a cafeteria or
so it's not
whatever.
But
it all rolls in. It rolls in. It's self-contained. Every learning station has a learning center. So and we even made it where different size kids can do this. We put it on a scissor lift, so the engine lifts up and down. So we have some students that are not even 5 feet tall. We have other students that are almost 6 feet tall in the same class, and they can work on the engines because we designed that aspect.
What ages
into it.
are going through this program?
7th graders.
7th graders are doing this. That's wonderful. So this is something we're doing for the 7th graders. They're in the school. Are there other vocational things anymore? Do they even have a wood shop? I mean, most private schools don't.
All
have
that stuff
anymore.
it's gone by the wayside, and because of that, we have grown men, as we like to say, growing up that don't know how to drive a nail.
So this is an elective for kids. They can say, "Yeah, give me the motor class, the engine class," and they come in. What's the throughput been like? Have you had high interest?
Oh, they love it. I've had parents come to me, find me in the parking lot, thank me. The school has been inundated with parents that are like, I wish my kid could have done it because now my kid's in high school. And part of the problem with high school is the regimens are so restrained about what has to be done. There's no room for this in high school, unfortunately.
Sure.
So they're talking about doing maybe some summertime things, camps that's around these same kits that we built for the school. We actually built this for the school.
I'm looking at the Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, or Scouts of America today because that sounds like a merit badge right there.
Yeah.
Learning about how small
and
engines
again,
work.
It's not about being a mechanic. It's about using your hands and learning and accomplishing something. See, that's the thing. These kids that are 7th graders, when we build this engine, they take the whole thing apart, they learn all about it. We learn about the 4 strokes of an engine, intake, compression, power, and exhaust. We learn exactly what those things do, the different strokes, what parts are opening and closing, what timing is, what compression is, what spark is, what airflow is. And these kids learn this to the point where they can recite this and they can take an engine in front of me and I'll just ask for a volunteer who can show me the 4 strokes. And they will turn that engine and say, okay, Mr. Raby, during the first stroke is the intake stroke. The intake valve opens, the piston goes down, it pulls in an air-fuel mixture. It goes back up. That's a compression stroke.
With the last minute or two that we have left, Ava, tell me, what's the feedback from the kids to you? He's hearing from the parents out in the parking lot like, hey, great for you, but...
I have a lot of kids that come up to me and they'll ask me, they'll be like, what's your dad been up to recently? A lot of kids will say that they really enjoyed the class, or they'll tell me to tell him thank you.
Or they want more, maybe.
Yes.
They're like, I wish we had another program above this. And they're also probably telling their parents, hey, I want a motor or an engine for my birthday.
Some of these kids went home and took their bicycle apart. They'd never done that before.
Build an e-bike in the class.
Yeah, he built an e-bike. Nobody told him to. He just went home and Googled some stuff and got some junk and made something out of it.
Started taking his father's lawnmower apart. Hey, I got a better plan for this thing.
Oh, yeah. That's how we learned.
So let me ask you, and I know people out there are like, well, I'm trying to track what this looks like and so forth. If they want to see pictures, if they want to learn more about this program, and specifically if there is another school or an institution or a church, if they wanted to do something, where can they go to learn more about this?
The website is mechanicalclassroom.com.
Mechanicalclassroom.com. Okay.
Yes.
And do you have a Facebook
There
presence?
is a Mechanical Classroom Facebook page, and there's a lot on there every day as I was doing this most recent class, which we just finished last month. It's a full month in the classroom. I posted videos every day. So the kids are able to actually start their engines up. That's the other cool thing. We take them outside, and they get to see that accomplishment come to life.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, thank you both so much for coming in here today and spending time with us. And I hope that there's some interest out there by parents or students to maybe look at our public schools or other private schools or other institutions to start getting greasy and figuring out how things work. Thank you so much, Jake. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, when we come back, we're going to be having a visitor from the Walton County Sheriff's Department, Rachel Salkowski, and she's going to share 2 new programs going on in our county that I think most of our listeners will be interested in. When we come back, you're listening to the Marc McMain Show on 92.3 FM.
Ready to grow your small business and reach thousands of new customers? Say hello to Town Values Magazine, formerly MTM Shopper, proudly serving the community for 22 years. Every month, thousands of magazines are mailed directly to homes in Walton, Oconee, Barrow, Rockdale, Newton, Gwinnett, and beyond to further expand your reach. Our magazine is packed with valuable coupons and services offered, helping families save money while supporting the community they love. We specialize in local direct marketing that works, building your brand, driving sales, and connecting you with the customers who matter most. Plus, we're online at townvalues.com and on Facebook and Instagram, giving your business even more exposure in print and digital. Ready to reserve your space in the next edition? Call Liliana at 770-267-6650. Town Values Magazine. Local, trusted, powerful. Helping businesses grow and families save.
Is your home's AC ready for spring? Call Tony Beck Heating and Cooling for tune-ups or to install a new heating and cooling system. As a Lennox Premier dealer, we provide expert service, and it's an investment that pays off with lower energy bills. For a limited time, purchase a new qualifying Lennox system for up to $1,800 in rebates, or qualified buyers make no payments, incur no interest for 12 months when financing a new Lennox system. Contact Tony Beck Heating and Cooling at 770-466-2924 or beckheating.com today. Conditions apply. See dealer for details. HVAC license number CN001627.
When it comes to tasty treats, the only place you need is Stone Mountain Pecan Company. Enjoy fresh, high-quality Georgia pecans along with a huge selection of your favorite nuts like almonds, cashews, walnuts, pistachios, and Brazilian nuts. Plus delicious mixes, dried fruits, candies, and Southern Pecan coffee. Stone Mountain Pecan has it all. And the best part, it's all online at stonemountainpecan.com or visit our country store on Highway 78 in Monroe. Stone Mountain Pecan Company. Something for everyone. Eat well, be happy.
Anytime is a great time to make memories at the Yellow River Wildlife Sanctuary in Lilburn. Close to home and fun for the entire family. Not only will you see wildlife up close, like bears, otters, bison, and more, you can enjoy a picnic lunch. There's gem mining and so much more. The Yellow River Wildlife Sanctuary, 4525 Highway 78 in Lilburn. Make plans to visit soon. To learn more, go to yellowriverwildlifesanctuary.com.
All right, welcome back, friends. This is Mitchell Swan sitting in for Marc McMain, and I've got Rachel Salkowski with us from the Walton County Sheriff's Office, and she's going to explain to us 2 new benefits that we can take advantage of, 2 new programs, rather, that have come online, and I think they're going to be important. The first one is called the Less Crime Act. Rachel, welcome.
Thank you.
Can you tell us what is that? I've just recently learned about this.
So in 2023, new legislation came about, and they called it the Less Crime Tax Credit. What that does is it allows Georgia taxpayers to claim tax credit for supporting local public safety efforts by contributing to a qualified law enforcement foundation.
Wow, that sounds complicated. All right, so basically what you're saying is now, you know, we all pay taxes, and we can't help it. We don't like it. The only 2 truths in life are death and taxes. And then what they have established now is instead of us just paying to the state our tax for our income for the state of Georgia, we can self-direct it to law enforcement in our county.
That's correct. Yes. So everybody, if they have that state tax liability, what they can do is they can take a portion of that, direct it to our nonprofit, and it is a dollar for dollar credit. That money then goes to us, which is the Qualified Law Enforcement Foundation, and then the sheriff is able to use that at his discretion for what he sees that we need to help protect our community.
Well, I think that that's an important program, especially for counties like ours, and here's why. When we look at our towns specifically, if we look at Monroe and we look at Loganville, and certainly we have a Social Circle as well, a medium-sized town, but we're growing. I mean, you just have to drive around the county and see all the development and realize, with these massive pickleball courts, we got a lot of people coming here. We're growing faster than the rate of growth for the state of Georgia, so people want to be here. And if we're going to have an increase in residents, you're going to get an increase in crime normally. Crime follows the money, follows the development. And we all are concerned going forward, how do I, grow as a community, but also continue to maintain or decrease crime and make it a safer place? Well, if we just rely on the good old-fashioned budget system, those are normally, they lag behind our communities, like, oh, hey, we didn't program enough money this year or next year. Maybe in 3 years we'll have enough tax revenue to, tackle this problem, right? And so what I like about this is we can get ahead of it as residents in Walton County and use this Less Crime Act, which stands for Law Enforcement Strategic Support Act, and we can self-direct our income tax for the state into this program and give you guys the resources, right, outside of the mainstream budget that you have total control over, correct?
Well, the sheriff, yes, sir. He is the one who decides how that money gets spent. It goes straight into an account that we do keep track of, but all of that money goes through him, and he's able to determine where that money's spent. A good example is if you've seen any of our deputies recently, you might have noticed that their uniforms look a little different. They're still super classic, but we were able to use some of that money and actually replace their uniforms, specifically their vests. We went to what's called a weight-bearing vest. That vest is something that takes the weight off of their hips and their back, unlike that traditional gun belt. That uniform is still that classic Georgia Sheriff's Association in colors and still the same look, but we were able to provide that for them and kind of keep up with technology and get them some better stuff to keep them
outfit them better.
The body armor is actually, it's a higher rated body armor, so it keeps them a little bit safer too. So they're a little bit more malleable. They're able to move a little bit better.
Mobile.
But that's definitely something that we were able to use that for. And instead of it being a budget line item, we were able to take it out of this money so that it doesn't go into that budget for the sheriff.
And when I say you, I meant the sheriff's department. I wasn't like, hey, come on, Rachel, hook me up. I need some of that load-bearing equipment and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Been eating too many brownies and Twinkies, and I can't get around as well, so I need to lighten my load. But you have that. I'm sorry.
No, and just like what you were saying, I mean, this is money that you would be paying to the state. And but what a great way to allocate that funds locally so that you can see that money being utilized in your own backyard.
Right. I can support the police department, not crappy voting machines. Oh, did that go on the air? I'm sorry about that. Too soon? All right. Just joking, everyone. Well, what I would also say is what I like about this program, because my own experience with big budgets, whether they're corporate, but really when you're involved in the government, it is spend it or lose it. So if most state governments, if they collect revenue for tax year 2025, they have all of 2026 to expend it. If you don't expend it, they'll take it from your budget and give it to someone else willing to spend it. We want to end the year with zero, right? Now, I know Georgia's been unique amongst most organizations, but in the federal government, they've got to let it go or they're going to claw it back from you and you won't get as much. What I liked about how this Less Crime Act works is that you guys collect your money, say this year, and the sheriff uses good prudence, does not spend it. It will build up in the account, And so we'll have, more money and more money and more funding for good things as they get developed. And it might be integrated communication systems, better video technology, more whatever it is to track crime. And those resources will be built in and supplemented to a great extent just by the residents living here. They still get a budget. They're not going to look at us and go, you've done so well with the Less Crime Act, you're out of the budget. When we are talking about the Sheriff's Department, is anyone else, can the city of Monroe or the city of Loganville, do they have their local police departments being different? Do they have access to a program like this?
Well, so that's kind of where where the actual nonprofit comes in. So you have to have a qualified law enforcement foundation in order to be able to give to this tax credit. So we already existed. So the sheriff's office was very blessed in the fact that we already existed. So we were able to kind of incorporate both of those. So if they've got that 501c3, then that's certainly something that somebody could donate to, but it does require that nonprofit aspect.
Well, we're going to get into that after the break when we come back for the second half. One of the things I meant to ask you, Rachel, and it's my fault because I've known you now for a few years, right? I'm one of your best customers. I would come down because you'd be manning the Good Hope Station House, and I'd have questions. I guess you've moved to Loganville. Tell the listeners what your story is, right?
So I actually have been in law enforcement for 16 years. I am a civilian. I'm non-sworn. I am what I consider support staff. So I've spent 16 years doing that. The first 10 was in victim advocacy. I have actually been in Walton County working for Walton County Sheriff's Office. This April is actually 12 years. So I relocated in 2014 to Monroe, where my mom grew up. I actually am raising her granddaughters in the same neighborhood that she grew up in.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, so full circle. I love what I do. I went to school for criminal justice. This was what I wanted to do with my life, and I am grateful every day to be able to go in and do something I love.
Well, they call it support for a reason. Without support, everything falls apart, and you keep everything going. In your 16 years, so maybe you can attest to the point I was trying to make. Walton County has really grown a lot, has it not? What was it like back when you first joined the force here?
Well, just alone in the last probably 18 months, we've added so many employees, and we have grown exponentially with the birth of the new sheriff's office and the new jail facility. We were up to almost 350 employees, and we were nowhere close to that when I started.
Yeah.
So to have that kind of growth alone in employees can show and reflect on how big the county has gotten just since I've been here, and to see the call volume and the types of calls that we're responding to, and how the turnaround is so much faster from a deputy being on a call and immediately going to another call versus years ago they might have had a couple minutes between it. So it has grown, and in a lot of great ways. It's getting better, and we want to keep up with that and stay better too, and be able to provide for the amazing people that are moving to Walton County, and give them all the resources that we can.
Oh, your first responders are wonderful. Our second Thanksgiving here in Good Hope, people would tease and be like, well, if you have an emergency in Good Hope, it's going to be a minute before you see anybody. And it was Thanksgiving, and my mother had an event, and we dialed 911 for it. And if I am not lying, within 8 minutes, I had not one. I had 4 Rockstar vehicles in my yard and 6 EMT technicians in my living room. And you just sit around with like, wow, that's incredible for living in Good Hope. I can imagine the response time is quicker when you're in Monroe. What are some of the trends do you see in crime and I know this is really a question for the sheriff, but where do you see some of the department putting most of their efforts these days?
That would be hard to determine exactly. I can tell you that when I was doing victim advocacy, a lot of what I responded to was domestic type calls. That trend probably would continue to stay true. Certainly during COVID, we did see a lot of disagreements going on because people were stuck in homes.
But drugs are still a problem here, like they are everywhere.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
and then that leaves the petty burglary and this and that.
You know, it would be really hard to pinpoint exactly what was the biggest growth. The more people, the more crime in general.
Yeah, of course. Well, when we come back after break, I want you to kind of dive in and tell us more about Deputies Beyond the Badge, that non-for-profit foundation you were discussing. Once again, everyone, please stay with us. This is Mitchell Swan sitting in for Marc McMain, and you're listening to WMOQ.
Have you been putting off auto repairs? Do you want a body shop you know and trust? Go see AutoCorrect Collision. AutoCorrect is a family-owned and operated collision center with over 45 years of experience. Their equipment and training exceed industry standards. No repair is too big or small. Ask about the special drawings and mention this ad for a discount. Visit AutoCorrect Collision at 409 Mayfield Drive or call them at 770-207-1241.
Lake Life is the Lake area's largest award-winning magazine, reaching over 25,000 readers. Pick up your copy of Lake Life magazine today. Get Lake Life free at over 100 convenient locations in Georgia's Lake Country. And keep in mind, you'll receive your free copy with a subscription to the Lake Oconee News or the Eatonton Messenger. Lake Life. It's all about the lives and events in Georgia's Lake Country. Call 706-485-3501 to subscribe. Lake Life, the biggest, the best, and it's free.
Roll-Off Systems of Statham, they're on a roll. They offer dumpsters in all sizes, trash compactors, porta potties, and new combo cans. Existing sites are new building sites. Trash and waste disposal, it's their business. Locally owned and operated. Call Roll-Off Systems today. 770-725-ROLL. That's 770-725-ROLL. Or go to rolloffsystems.com.
Hey, this is that Rick Jackson spot.
Too often, criminal illegals commit sick, violent crimes. Do that when I'm governor, and you'll end up deported or departed.
Dang. I know, right?
What do you have, sugar? I'll take the meatloaf and Rick Jackson for governor.
He's something, ain't he?
He's tough.
Yeah, no tolerance for criminal illegals, no DEI.
No covering up for do-nothing career politicians either.
You know, Jackson came from nothing and built one of the biggest businesses in Georgia.
Now he wants to cut the income tax in half and freeze property taxes.
Yeah, but not for deadbeats.
Listen, I love this part.
No more free rides for people who refuse to work. You want to sit on your butt, binge watch Netflix, and scarf down Cheetos? Do it with your own money.
Be still my heart.
Bingo.
Amen to that.
Rick Jackson for Georgia, not a career politician. Paid for by Jackson for Governor, Inc.
All right, everyone, welcome back. This is Mitchell Swan, and I'm sitting here continuing my fascinating discussion with Rachel Sulkowski. And before we move on, before the break, I thought we had wrapped up the Less Crime Act. But there's something I want to point out to people to put some urgency in this. This is a tax credit that's available statewide, but it maxes out at $75 million. Okay, and what that means is, if enough people apply for this credit, the state's going to keep giving them out till they hit the mark of $75 million, and the program ends. There is no more credits for the remainder of that year. And if we wait, there may not be any left for Walton County. So one thought to do is to make this part of your tax preparation throughout the year. And what do I mean by that? So my wife and I have a business, Sapphire Wealth Management in Good Hope, and what we're going to do, what we've already signed up for, is we're going to do our quarterly payments. And so every quarter we're going to be paying into this thing and claiming that credit. And if enough people here do it, I mean, potentially, we could get all $75 million. But there may not be much left. And so people need to do it. If you wait to the very end of the calendar year and then tell your accountant, he might be like, well, that program ran out of credits, in August or September. So we really want to encourage people to put that up front in their tax planning. And if you're just a retiree or an individual and you got a side gig somewhere, if you're single, head of household, you can give up to $5,000 per year, and then you're done. That's the most you can give. And if you're married, you can give up to $10,000, and then you're done, right? Now, here's something that doesn't run out of funding, though it does hit a max, and we'll get to that. But Rachel's going to tell us now about a foundation here that is fully tax deductible. And tell us about that, Rachel. How else can we support our local law enforcement? And this one includes the police, correct?
Well,
or no? Still
in a way, yes.
Okay.
We do focus largely on all first responders in the entire county. But with what you were saying, if anybody does have questions in regards to the tax credit or anything, deputiesbeyondthebadge.org. All of that information is on there. My information is on there. You're welcome to contact me directly. And I'll be happy.
Again. It's
deputiesbeyondthebadge.org. So there's a frequently asked questions drop down. It's got a step-by-step menu of exactly how to go about it, but I'm here. You can email me, call me. I'm happy to walk you through the process any way, shape, or form, or answer any questions anyone has. That being said, the reason we can do the tax credit is because Deputies Beyond the Badge exists. In 22, this was the brainchild of Colonel Wisnett. We created this nonprofit. The nonprofit itself is there to provide resources for our employees. That's everyone that works at the sheriff's office. But again, we do like to include all of our first responders because we know how vital that is, and support everyone that we can. But we do believe that the men and women of the Walton County Sheriff's Office is our greatest asset. An area that we focus on is just to support these heroes, whether through emergency funds to bridge the gap after a traumatic event or through gifts of appreciation and gratitude through special occasions. We want to be there routinely for the people who make sacrifices, who are routinely there for us. That's why we exist.
Sure. And then, of course, one of the things I couldn't do in the Marine Corps is if I had someone do a really phenomenal job, you can give them an award, maybe give them a parking spot for 30 days, but they were not going to get a bonus. But we can even use this for those that are, coming in, putting in the extra effort at the end of the year, say, hey, we're going to give you a modest check. We're going to give you a check and give you a bonus to supplement you, correct?
Yeah, we right now we focus on if we've got an employee or an employee's family that's in crisis.
Sure, yeah.
Something that happens that we need to bridge that gap immediately to try and assist them. That's where we focus, but we also focus a lot on community engagement. We've done a bunch of women's self-defense classes free to the community. We put those on. We just did a big class for the school system for internet safety for children. We also put on a year-end banquet and Christmas party. We are able to host it for everyone that's employed at the sheriff's office, and that gives our command staff and Sheriff Brooks the opportunity to thank them for a year's worth of work, and anybody that has shown exemplary support throughout the year is able to win awards. That's when he's able to present awards for the year, and it's a sit-down meal. It's time to fellowship with each other outside of the uniforms and just enjoy a year together.
So the Law Enforcement Strategic Support Act that we discussed the first 15 minutes, that's kind of really direct tax dollars that we can direct here to supplement our sheriff's department and support them.
Yes.
And then if we max out on this, and that's probably, I would suspect, would be the first pot of money we would go for, uniforms and things, or whatever we needed for equipment and outfitting and direct support. And then this is also kind of indirect support that we have to bring in for those crisis moments that a family might be going through. Maybe you had a child born with a cord wrap, and now you've got medical bills, wheelchair needs, things you never thought were going to happen. And they're able to help that family get through that.
Correct. And that's what we want to be able to support our employees. We are a family, even if it's our work family, and we want to take care of each other as the best we can. We also, like I said, we partner with other first responders. We did a big trunk or treat, and it was just for the local first responders families. We did it the week before Halloween because Halloween is one of those nights that it's usually all hands on deck. So they were able to fellowship with other first responders and other agencies and their family and enjoy a time to just kind of experience trunk or treat in case they had to work that night.
And again, this is all at the discretion of the sheriff, right? and some of the people that sit on the foundation. And I want to make people understand this isn't just focused on the families and the needs for the departments or the first responders. It's there to offer programs for us as well. And you're working with the 4-H. Don't you have something coming up?
We
with them?
do. We actually have a clay shoot. Sheriff Brooks and Deputies Beyond the Badge is actually partnering May 15th. We're going to do a clay shoot down at Burge Plantation. And all of that money, every single penny we raise, is going to go to support the Walton County 4-H safe teams. It will be divided evenly between the 4 shooting teams. So we are super excited to provide that support for them and partner with Sheriff Brooks on this.
Right. So this isn't a clay shoot like I show up with 4 of my buddies and we got shotguns and we're going to compete. This is we're sending someone else to like real competition, right?
Well, you can if you want to register a team, but we do recommend pre-registration because we can only take so many teams before it gets crowded. But it is open to registration right now. And if you want that additional information, it is both on the Walton County Sheriff's Office and the Deputies Beyond the Badge Facebook page. And the number listed is actually my number. So you can call me directly and I'm happy to assist.
There is a limit on this as well, isn't there? Unless I'm missing my notes. But I thought we could only go up to about a $3 million cap on this thing.
So that is actually
or is that annual?
That is annual for the tax account.
Okay.
So the tax account, each law enforcement foundation, so Deputies Beyond the Badge, in that separate account, I can take $3 million for Walton County and $75 million for the state. So once we hit that $3 million cap in Walton, we have to be done.
Now I understand. I was like, in theory, we could get it all. Not even possible. All right. Thank you for clearing my error up publicly on the radio. So, and then they don't have any gifting limits to this, then, the foundation.
No, and it is still the 501c3. And if you do donate to something like this clay shoot, we provide receipts, and it is still something that you can use on your taxes.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming in. It's been an absolute pleasure having you with us today. Chastity, did you have something to throw in on this?
Hey, that sounds fun. I would like to go to the clay shoot. We should register. That would be so fun.
I think
it goes to a good cause.
You have to have all the first responders on deck for me to get out there in public with a shotgun. People might get injured by total accident.
I say do it. Let's do it. And then just maybe give those websites again.
Yeah, so deputiesbeyondthebadge.org. That's all one word. But if you just Google Deputies Beyond the Badge, it'll pop for Walton County. And then we both have a Facebook account as well as the Walton County Sheriff's Office Sheriff's Office has their own Facebook account. Both are going to have all of that information on it. Both great sites to follow if you don't already. It will keep you apprised of everything up and coming.
Well, I'll say, and we looked up the Less Crime Act because of our business, we have an accountant out of state. He wouldn't even know about this. And boy, was it so easy to sign up, register, and get that thing working right off the bat for us here locally. And again, a lot of CPAs, that's why we brought you in today. They get a lot of updates on what federal tax code is because that's what they're focused on the most, trying to save people money. But they don't get all the notices or have the time to read about this stuff. And so we're trying to get the word out as much as possible. Mm-hmm. Well, again, Rachel, thank you so much for coming in and giving up your busy day. You have to go back to Loganville, don't you now?
Yes, sir. I'm going back to work.
Yeah, we liked having you over here in Good Hope.
Yes. Oh, I miss Good Hope.
Yeah.
I miss the mayor. I used to see him all the time. I still get to talk to him occasionally, though. So.
Oh, he's a great man.
He's amazing.
We really enjoy him. All right. Well, thank you all out there for listening to us. This is the Marc McMain Show. I'm Mitchell Swan filling in for Marc today, and I'll be on tomorrow, surprisingly enough. So if we said anything worth listening to, please join us again tomorrow. And you're listening to WMOQ 92.3 FM.